Hey everybody, ronarray here, and as you know, economy in Path of Exile 2 right now is kind of volatile. We have a lot of inflation with exalted and different items have different prices, sometimes going very high, and costing divines. So in this video, I wanted to share a pretty quick and pretty easy compared, obviously, farming strategy that I've been using in the last few days. It is based on farming inscribed ultimatums. I will be able to explain what exactly we are doing, what we are profiting from, and how you can do the same. So to farm it, you will need to have inscribed ultimatum with number of trials 10. It usually goes from area level up from 76. If you're not sure how strong your character is and if you will be able to complete it freely, going for area level 76 is recommended. However, if your character is strong, I recommend to farm area level 80, because that way you will be able to get items with higher item level too, and some of them could be very good for selling. You will need to just finish all 10 trials in the process and reach the final step. While you're doing it, you're going to receive various benefits and about 3 soul cores in the process. That's pretty important because every run is going to provide you with 3 soul cores, and you will be able to sell them later. I will talk about prices for soul cores a little later in the video as well. And you also will receive a lot of corrupted items. Those are completely random and most of them are not even worth looting. However, I still recommend to check them at the end of the ultimatum, because you will be able to sell maybe some of them. But keep in mind that corrupted items cannot be modified further. So for example, if you don't have additional rune sockets, you will be unable to add them. And those items are very tricky and most of the time unfortunately complete garbage. But I've been able to sell at least a few in the end. You're also going to receive items and experience while you are running Ultimatum, and if your area level's 80, the numbers will be pretty much alright. Rares are going to drop random things, and bosses can even drop divines, as you can see in that example. Moving forward, at the end you will also have a chance to fight Trialmaster boss. But right now it's getting tricky. To fight Trialmaster, you will need to have 3 masks called Fates. And last boss of the ultimatum at the 10 wave is always dropping 1 Fate. Right now the most expensive one costs about 25 exalteds and the rest costs about 10 exalteds. Here comes the main question. Do you want to sell it or do you want to run boss yourself? I fought the boss and I don't really consider him very hard. If you pick the specific buffs, you can kill him without a lot of issues. But right now, I'm not sure how good the drop rate is. Unfortunately, when I tried, I wasn't able to properly drop any expensive item from him. For example, here is a few items that boss can drop. The most expensive one being Mahuk's Total Machination Omen Crush Shield, which can have increased effect of socketed soul cores and could be used for many different reasons right now. Mahuk's Total can go, if not corrupted, and with proper number, around 4 divines, and if you will be lucky and you will drop a very high percentage, it will cost up to 8 divines, so it's a very good gamble. However, every fight with the boss is going to cost you about 45 exalteds approximately. Boss also can drop the Adorn, which can be pretty expensive based on the roll from 0 to 100%. However, Adorns are not really dropping that often, unfortunately. So right now the whole idea with fighting the boss is very questionable. If you like to risk it, I think in the end you're going to make profit, because boss is dropping the item at some point and up to 8 divines is a very decent price. So going for the boss could be a correct decision. However, if you're unsure that you want to fight the boss, that you can kill it easily and you're afraid to fail it, or you don't want to risk your money, you could just sell fates instead. That way every run will give you at least 10 exalteds at the minimum just from the fate, and it will always give you at least additional profit. Right now you will be able to buy most of the inscribed ultimatums for only 1-2 exalteds approximately, so it's not a big issue and you will be always in the profit just from the fate. However, I also want to say that going for the boss is probably more profitable strategy if you can always kill it without a lot of issues. And moving forward, I also want to showcase how we can profit while we are doing it, because not only fates are bringing some currency. So probably the most profitable thing right here is Soul Core of Odds Kappa right now. It gives 10% of increased rarity of items found for every item and plus spirit for martial weapon. It costs 179 exalted at the market at the current rate if you want to buy it. And that's probably the most desired drop that we can currently have. Farming that core is completely random, so since you're receiving 3 cores every time, you will have a chance to receive that one. And if you will get it, it's a very huge profit. Right now, every run takes about from 11 to 15-16 minutes approximately, depends on how fast is your build, how fast you're killing, and what kind of challenges you will have in the process. So just that core alone making the whole idea is pretty profitable, because you can run up to 4-5 maybe even runs in an hour and you will receive about 15 cores, so chance to receive that one is very high. However, if you never drop it, there is a second core that costs 33 exalted too, Soul Core of Zalatul, and it's dropping pretty often, at least I received a few in the process. However, the rest of the cores have some particular prices as well. For example, Soul Core of Tekati right now costs about 4 exalted approximately, which is a pretty nice price. So if you receive like 3 of them, you will get 12 exalted from that and about 8 exalted additionally on the top. So I think if right now you're fighting the boss, you're taking all the cores, and there's also a chance to get divines from bosses or cool items in the process, it's definitely worth to run it, because in an hour you will be able to just make at least 1 divine at the minimum, and if you will be lucky you can even make up to 10, which making that strategy is pretty alright considering how easy it is. I wouldn't say it's the most profitable strategy right now, but it's very stable, it provides good loot, and it's very easy to do, so if your build is not perfected, you don't have crazy damage, and you don't have crazy items yourself, you can still try it. Because it's pretty easy, comparable to other options out there. Now let's talk about modifiers and how make your run easier, and how to make sure that you're not failing it, and the boss will not be too hard, and stuff like that. So generally, in my opinion, Blood Globals is probably one of the best things that you can take. Those are very slow, they're dealing not a lot of physical damage, and so easy to dodge. So most of the time I'm picking at least tier 1 if I can see Blood Globals, and even tier 2 is a pretty nice pick in my opinion too. I also think that all the turrets modifiers, like fire turrets or lightning turrets, are pretty good picks, because they're barely hitting and it's so easy to avoid. You could just stand at some particular place and you will feel alright with it. I don't really recommend to take chaotic monsters when monsters gain damages extra chaos damage, because if you're not playing chaos inoculation, it could be kind of dangerous. I also think that monster always deal critical hits is not good against the bosses, so is less defenses. Monster grant no flask and charm charges on death, it's called Drought, is a very good bonus too, because you're still going to receive flask charges before every boss fight. That way it will be very comfortable for you. I think that bosses deal more damage and take less damage is not good if you're going for the last boss, for the Trialmaster. Monster inflict grasping vice on hit, on the other hand, is a pretty nice thing, because monsters are not really hitting you too often, and grasping vice are not that dangerous because you can always roll in the process. And I think escalating damage taken is probably one of the worst picks right here, because it can make all your damage taken up to 50% and it could be pretty dangerous. Bloody Hearts in my opinion is like a middle modifier, so I still recommend to pick it, and Rings of Doom from Impending Doom are pretty bad. If your build allow it, you can also take less and reach 50% less area of effect, but for my crit wave monk it feels kind of uncomfortable. I also feel like rare monsters have additional modifiers, and increase rare monsters in general is a very strong buff, and I'm always picking it because it's making the whole run better. More modifiers at rares will lead to better drops from those rares. And more rare monsters are pretty good too, because we are going to receive some items from them, which is pretty nice in my opinion. And I think that petrification statues from petrification statues bonus are not good at all, and most of the time I'm not really picking them. Reduce life, mana and energy shield recovery rate could be bad for some builds if you have mana issues. So if your mana cost is very high, be very careful with that particular modifier, because it can ruin your mana regeneration completely and you will be unable to attack, especially at bosses. Minus maximum resistances in my opinion is alright, and if you're playing Monk or any other class that can ignore resistances overall, I think resistant monsters could be kind of good without a lot of issues. And last modifier that I want to comment about is Stalking Shade. I think Stalking Shade right now is a pretty tricky. Usually I'm taking it because it's not really sounds dangerous, because Shade is slow and it's not really hitting you that often. However, I do not recommend to go for second level here, because with second level Shade it will be too fast and some situations could lead to a very hard challenge. For example, when you need to escort the statue across the map, with second level Shade it could be very hard, because you will need to constantly run around from the Shade while staying very close to the statue, otherwise it will not move. It will make your challenges significantly longer, so I don't recommend to pick it. The rest of the modifiers are kinda alright too. You could go for Stormcaller runes for example, or Temple Traps if you feel like it. But genuinely I'm just trying to pick the ones that I already mentioned, especially rare monsters if you can, because it's properly a buff and not a debuff right now. I also think that unstoppable monster with gauge monster cannot be slowed or stunned is a pretty strong bonus too, because most of the time you, instead of stunning, you are freezing, you're electrocuting or doing a lot of different effects, so it doesn't matter. So that's been my quick guide for farming Trial of Chaos. I think right now it should be pretty profitable, especially if you are fighting the boss and will be very lucky with Maxotal or with Adon. Good luck! Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. ronarray out.